Hi, and welcome back to this last segment of this Wednesday edition Focal Point. AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. The program is Focal Point. Let's grab a quick call from Roger, Rapid City, South Dakota, to start this last segment. Roger, Rapid City, South Dakota. Welcome. What's on your mind?
Brian, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Loud and clear, 5 by 5.
Does anybody know how much money Al Gore has made off of this climate change business of his?
Yes, we do. $110 million last I read. He's made $110 million off something that is a total, absolute hoax and a scam.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. You know, and this guy, I mean, the carbon footprint, if he's got some kind of mansion in Tennessee, it's just absurd, the carbon footprint that he generates. He flies all over the world telling people not to burn carbon. I mean, it's just, the hypocrisy is just nauseating and staggering.
Brian, could I mention a couple of videos that are available that explain Common Core?
Sure, yeah, that'd be fine.
One good one is put out by the Concerned Women for America.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's called Stop the Common Core.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to the Concerned Women for America website, they'll direct you to this video. It's a 5-part series. It's only 10 minutes per part, and it explains Common Core, its history, right down to where we are today.
Okay, very good.
It's extremely good. There's one other one that I'd like to mention if I could.
Sure, go ahead.
It's one by Glenn Beck. It's on YouTube, and it's called Common Core and Education.
Okay.
That's really, it's self-explanatory when you see it, but it's very well done. And one of the things that I liked about this was that he shows you all the federal documents that implement Common Core.
Yeah, he does. He's done a good job with the research on that, and I know that's a concern that he's got. All right, Roger, that's very good. CWA, Concerned Women for America, they do fine work on this Common Core business. I'm sure Glenn Beck's material is very solid, so I appreciate you pointing us to those resources, Roger. Thank you very much for that. You know, I've got a story here from the Globe and Mail in Canada talking about this global warming stuff. And we'll take your calls. We got we'll take a couple calls on anything we've talked about today. It's kind of open season for the last segment here. This Globe and Mail in Canada talking about the anxiety that's rising among young people because everybody is freaking them out all the time about the environment and the disasters that are awaiting. Here's the headline of the piece: Youth Anxiety on the Rise Amid Changing Climate. Sammy McLean, 14, felt overwhelming helplessness as she stood with her family and watched 2 angry rivers surge through their home, cutting a path of destruction across the downtown Calgary neighborhood. While the Alberta floods haven't been directly linked to climate change, destructive weather events are expected to increase in Canada in the future. McLean, a normally upbeat youth, is painfully aware of the sheer power of Mother Nature and the carnage its fury can wreak. She's now anxious about what we're doing to our environment. So now she's just freaked out over what we're doing to the environment. Child psychiatrists, psychologists, and educators say they've seen an escalation in the anxiety levels of today's youth who are constantly exposed to doomsday talk about the destruction of our planet. Dr. Anthony Levitt, Sunnybrook Health Sciences Center's Director of Research in the Department of Psychiatry, agrees climate change anxiety increasingly enters in the discussions he has with many of the young people who come to see. He's a psychiatrist. He's got to help them deal with their fears of environmental catastrophe. It's all a hoax. The whole thing is a scam. It's all about money. None of it is about science. All right, 888-589-8840. One quick thing I want to mention as we head toward the close of the program today. Got a letter that's been sent to a whole bunch of people. It's being sent by Richard Bott. He's the son of Dick Bott, the founder of Bott Radio Network, 92 radio station network, calling out Russell Moore. Remember, Russell Moore has taken not one, not two, but 3 swings at conservative talk radio. I talked about it at length a couple of weeks ago. We played you sound bites from Russell Moore, said, I made a mistake of listening to Christian talk radio against my doctor's orders, and I think he might have been talking about this program. I don't know, because he doesn't say. That's part of the problem. He takes a swing at all of Christian talk radio. said if I listened to Christian Talk Radio, I would hate Christianity. I understand. I'd hate it too. If I drew my view of what Christianity is from listening to Conservative Talk Radio, I would hate it too. So Bott Radio Network is calling them out. I got this letter today. It's being sent to everybody who's anybody in Christian Talk Radio and beyond. And Richard Bott talks about the work of the Bott Radio Network to put good Christian Talk Radio, including sermons and teaching, on the air. With this background, Richard Bott says, this is the son of Dick Bott, who's the founder. Richard Bott is the president and CEO. With this background, you can understand my shock and alarm. This is a letter written to Russell Moore, and I think he's probably copied some leaders in the Southern Baptist denomination on this. With this background, you can imagine my shock and alarm when I heard your public comments at the ERLC Leadership Summit, wherein you asserted your personal disdain for Christian Talk Radio and declared that Christian Talk Radio causes people to hate Christianity. Quote, if all I knew about Christianity was what I heard on Christian Talk Radio, I'd hate Christianity too. And Bott goes on, this kind of quote from you as president of the ERLC is inexplicable. The best I can assume is that you spoke from ignorance, not realizing that what you were saying, your careless, sweeping comments, which have now been widely disseminated and are being broadly discussed, have caused harm and confusion to faithful broadcasters and loyal listeners to Conservative Talk Radio the world over. Assuming you spoke from ignorance, I am eager to offer you an opportunity to apologize for this serious and inexplicable misstatement with our Bott Radio News, BRN, Christian Talk Radio platform of 95 radio stations plus multiple digital new media outlets with worldwide reach. So he's invited him to come on the program and apologize to everybody in Conservative Talk Radio, or else had a conversation with Dick Bott this morning, and he says either Russell Moore can apologize to everybody in Conservative Talk Radio, Christian Talk Radio, or tell us who he was talking about. Tell us who you were talking about. Who were you listening to that made you want to hate Christianity? Who were you talking to? Which program were you listening to? Who were you singling out? Tell us who it was, and then maybe we get the two of you together for a conversation. So we'll see where all of that goes. All right. Well, let's finish with a phone call or two. Let's grab a call from Ron in Muskegon, Michigan. Maybe that's Muskegon, Michigan. Ron, welcome. What's on your mind?
Hi. I just had a question on your science. What percentage of climatologists in this country or worldwide agree with your assessment? And would you
know, that's a good question. I'm glad you brought that up, Ron, because what you're going to hear all the time from global warming aficionados is that 97% of scientists agree. Now, what 97% of scientists agree with is a statement that the climate is changing. You know how many of those, Ron, believe that the change that they're witnessing in the climate is caused by men? 1.6%. I'm so glad you brought that up.
But it's happening at a rate that we've never seen before with the gases going into the atmosphere.
Well, Ron, how come we've had no global warming in 17 years and 9 months then?
100 climatologists, top in their field doctorates, and tell me how many of them would agree with you.
Ron, how come we've had no global warming in 17 years and 9 months, according to the satellite data? That's from NASA. How do you
This is something that takes decades.
How do you explain that? How do you explain that, Ron? But Ron,
go to the Arctic or the Antarctic and take ice samples, and you can figure out you know what gases were in the atmosphere.
Hey, Ron, do you know that we have more Antarctic ice than we've had in 30 years? We have more global ice right now than we've had in 30 years. Antarctic sea ice extent is setting records for the day almost every day of the week.
And where do you get these? Where do you get these calculations from? What is your?
Well, I get it from NASA. They're the ones that measure.
More global ice now than we ever had.
No, NASA measures the Antarctic sea ice extent from their satellites. They take temperature readings. More than half, Ron, of the satellite temperature record that NASA keeps, more than half of it shows no global warming at all. More than half of it. There hasn't been any global warming, according to NASA and their satellites, since 1995. There is no, Ron, there is no child alive on the face of the planet, no child alive on the face of the planet that has ever experienced global warming. Not one. And there's more Antarctic sea ice than almost we've ever had in 30 years.
The generations to come, they're not going to be able to look back at their ancestors and say, you know what, they were on the wrong side and you are.
Well, Ron, let me ask you one last question. Then I got to let you go because we're running out of time.
With you.
But we've been continuing to belch CO2 into the atmosphere. I mean, we've gone over 400 parts per million. This is supposed to be the threshold, supposed to be the end of the world as we know it, supposed to be catastrophe, and yet we're chugging along, no global warming whatsoever. How do you explain if CO2 emissions are driving global temperatures to increase? How come we've been belching CO2 into the atmosphere for 20 years and we have zero global warming to show for it? How do you explain that? How do you explain that?
Well, we've been hearing about end of days since Constantine come up with the Christian faith 400 years after Jesus was dead.
Well, Ron, I got to let you go, but do you know things were warmer in the medieval warming period than they are today, and there was no factories, no industrial output, warmer then than it is today if man was causing it? How do you explain that? All right, Ron, got to let you go, out of time. That's it for today, Focal Point AFR Talk. Do not forget, ladies and gentlemen, to bow low before God, stand tall before man, stand in the gap, and never forget, we are fighting a winnable war. God bless you. See you tomorrow.